Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had some time to get some coffee. Were you all here for the keynote? Raise your hand if you're here for the keynote. You heard the new announcements? Okay, cool. So we're going to go in depth a little bit more about some of those announcements James made earlier. We're also going to talk about some of the things we launched a little bit more recently, the last couple of months as well. Go in depth about some of the capabilities and explain some of the data behind the features we launched. So, and as announced, we'll also have David Van Hoven from Here Technologies come up and talk about his experiences and his organization's time with some of the features as well. So we're first going to go over some recent launches we've announced in the last 2-3 months and talk about those in depth, and then we'll get to the stuff you're all here to hear about. So to begin with, recent AWS FinOps launches. Amazon Q for cost analysis. By a show of hands, have any of you tried Amazon Q and asked it cost or billing questions? No hands? Okay, here we go. Okay, so if you have not tried it, you have the little Q pop up in the console now. We launched the ability for Q to query the Cost Explorer API. And this is pretty cool because now you can ask it questions such as how much spend did I have in March? Or what was my spend for the last 3 months? Or what was my EC2 spend? Things like that. So the idea here is that we can use natural language to sort of circumnavigate the entire need to do Cost Explorer filtering and reporting. And you can, if you have a very specific use case or a question, you can just type it in and get that answer immediately without having to go to dashboards or other capabilities to get your answer. So we know it takes a lot of time to build reports or do slicing and dicing of data, and so this allows you to just get very fast answers. And ideally, like if your manager or a VP or someone asks for a bit of cost information, you can get it in a couple of seconds. So the idea there was this is an important development for us that we can use generative AI to answer cost questions. By using the Cost Explorer API, we're able to make sure that the accuracy of the responses is high. So that's always something we're really interested in with Gen AI. And we're excited to continue investing in this space as well. So I have a list of sample questions here as well. So these are some examples. Maybe you can try them out yourself. But again, when you see that pop-up, the Q pop-up on the right side of the screen in your console, or even on the AWS website, you can type these questions in and get immediate answers. And what's interesting is when you type a question in to Q, it will automatically at the bottom give you a link to a pre-filtered view of Cost Explorer to answer the same question. So this way, if you say, okay, I want to know my cost for April, you get that link to Cost Explorer so you can either validate the numbers that Q is giving you, or if you want to repeat that same question and get the graph for it, if you want to see it in a bar graph format or something like that, the link is right there embedded in the answer for Q. So we're excited about this. We're excited to continue improving on this technology as well. Next thing I want to talk about, EKS, split cost allocation. How many have heard of this feature? A couple of hands? Okay. How many of you are running EKS in your AWS environment? Okay, a lot more hands. So the idea behind split cost allocation is that when you are running a lot of applications and a lot of pods in an EKS environment, it can be pretty difficult to break the costs out by different business units or applications. And we wanted to solve and address this problem by giving you the opportunity to break out individual pod costs in your Cur data export. And so with this launch, what we were able to do is add new data to the Cur that allows you to proportion and assign out costs to different pods. And you can do that and see visibility based on like CPU capacity or memory capacity or things like that. And then you're going to see all of that proportioned out cost data inside your cost and usage report. So now you can do things like proportion it out to business units or application owners or teams or things like that. And that gives you a ton more visibility into your spend for EKS environments. And that's really cool because if you proportion out all of your EKS spend to different teams, and you can identify what amount of your EKS spend is not associated to a specific app or team. It's a great way to optimize as well. So how do I get started using split cost allocation data? It's pretty simple. If you go into the console, you'll see a couple of checkboxes there to turn it on. We also have split cost allocation for ECS. So EKS is the most recent launch, but now you can turn on split cost allocation with a simple checkbox. And then you'll start seeing that data in the cur, and then you can proportion it out. And then, of course, you can always take that data once it's in the cur and import it into dashboards or reports or query libraries, things like that. Or if you use the Cloud Intelligence dashboards. How many of you use Cloud Intelligence dashboards here? Awesome, that's great. So all of this EKS split cost allocation goes right into the Cloud Intelligence dashboard, so you can report on it and visualize it as well. How many of you use cost anomaly detection? Okay, awesome. Cost anomaly detection, we've seen tremendous usage of this product, but we keep hearing from our customers that we want it faster. So we made it faster. So cost anomaly detection historically would take an entire day's cost data at the end of the day and then look through that data to find those anomalies. And so you would get an anomaly detection the next day. What we heard from customers is, I want to know the same day if I have an anomaly happening today. And so what we did is, instead of using a full day of data, we started taking a look at partial billing data 3 times a day interspersed throughout the day. So if anomalies start happening in the beginning of the day, we're going to be able to get you an alert closer to and before the end of the day. Now, if anomalies start happening late at night, it's still going to need time to go to do the anomaly detection, and so you'll see that the next day. But we were able to improve the speed for anomaly detection by up to more than 30% by using partial incremental daily spend data. Thank you. So what do you need to do to take advantage of this new anomaly detection? Nothing. We just improved the anomaly detection engine. No additional setup is required for this. If you are already using anomaly detection and you have it enabled in your environment, you're good to go. You get the 30% faster increase with no configuration required. So again, if you have workflows see, those are all going to start happening much faster for you. So be aware, those emails might start coming earlier in the day for you, and you might see anomalies a little more often. And again, the goal is to catch those unexpected cost changes faster. Awesome. Okay, so we just talked about several launches we've had in the last month or two. I know most of you are probably here to hear about what's the new stuff. James talked about it a little bit earlier. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on these new launches. The first one that I know most of you are probably interested in here is Focus. This is important to us. We have Roy Woolman and Zach Erdman on our cost and usage team representing the company on the Focus steering committee and then the working group. And this is important to us because we hear customers want a standardized set of schema and data. And so we're really excited to announce today, this morning, that we launched an export capability for Focus 1.0 in preview. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Okay, so what does this mean? How many of you use the new cur 2.0 or the data exports? How many of you tried out cur 2.0? Okay, if you haven't tried it out, this is definitely an area where we're spending a lot of time and energy here because we want more flexibility in the ways you have to build a cur, to pick and choose which schema and columns you want in your exports. We recognize you don't always need every single column, and curs can be pretty large to parse. So as part of Focus Preview, we're doing kind of the same thing we're doing with cur 2.0, where you can pick and choose the different schema and columns you want in that data export. This does the same process as cur and cur 2.0, where it'll go to an S3 bucket of your choice, so you can pick it up with a pipeline or some sort of capability for you to build into dashboards and reports. So again, you can configure and access this via APIs as well. So if you want to configure a or a focus export, you can do that via API access. One of my favorite features is that you can also select and filter columns via SQL. There's a lot of people out there that are absolute experts in SQL query language, and so you can, if that's your more natural and comfortable way of addressing data, you can use SQL to configure all of your columns and filters. So you can get this via CSV or Parquet files. It includes all 43 columns that are in the Focus 1.0 standard. We also added 5 additional columns. So 4 of these were columns that we thought would benefit everybody. So right now, in the Focus 1.0 standard, we wanted to get a little bit more granularity underneath the service layer in AWS costs. So we added a few additional fields for more granular data underneath service. This is something that the steering committee and the AWS employees on the committee are going to look to see if we can implement in the 1.1 standard. So maybe think of this as a little bit of an early preview for some data that we'd like to get into the 1.1 standard schema. This is a interesting slide because I think everybody here probably knows the benefits of the Focus 1.0 standard already, but let's go over it together here. Having a consistent treatment of discounts, right, whether that's RIs or savings plans, and having a singular format type is really important. We want this to be really easy to merge or join data sets between different sources. And doing things like effective cost is important because we want to understand the pre and post cost of discounts like RIs and savings plans. So using unused commitment line items and being able to calculate that really fast and easy across multiple different data sources is awesome. So here's some examples there's an on-demand usage example and then a savings plan example. So you can see the difference in on-demand versus committed discount status directly in the Focus format. Okay, so how do you take advantage of the Focus 1.0 export? There was a little video clip you saw this morning when James was doing the keynote. We made this very easy AWS orange button, create button at the top of the data exports console. You click that button and it gives you a very easy set of questions you can answer to create and start your Focus export. You can also use the APIs and the SDK and the CLI as well. And then you select the columns that you want to include in the export. So once you enable the Focus data export, then you can query it. Say you're using Amazon Athena or any other query language that you want, you can query that Focus data. Or another announcement that we'd like to make today is the cost intelligence. Is Yuri here? I saw Yuri over there somewhere. Okay, so how many of you know the cost intelligence dashboards and know Yuri? So Yuri was up most of the night launching the Focus dashboard in the cost intelligence dashboards. So we're happy to announce today that the cost intelligence dashboards will have what's called a Focus dashboard. So go update your CIDs. And what this will do is this will be compatible and will take your Focus data export and visualize it for you. Thank you. And thank you to Yuri. I saw him earlier. Okay, there. Hey, Yuri. Hey, Yuri, stand up for us. There you are. Okay, I just have to pick on Yuri. Yuri has been such an incredible partner on the entire journey for Focus 1.0, the preview, and then visualizing all of this data. So it's tremendous to get this visualized and in the hands of our customers day one at the conference. So thank you, Yuri. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about RDS rightsizing. This feature's been in the works for a little while, like James was talking about. This is very important to us. We know that RDS is a fairly large spend amount for our customers, right? Databases can be larger sizes. They take more computational power and memory. And so we know that optimization for such a large line item and expense on your bill is important to you and to us. And so we've been diligently working at this. Jimmy on my team, he's been working on this launch for a long time to get it absolutely precisely safe and accurate. And I'm so proud to announce that We have right-sizing recommendations for RDS now. We also have storage recommendations for RDS as well. So we will give recommendations not just to right-size the RDS instance, but also all of the storage attached to your database instance as well. So this is for MySQL and PostgreSQL. So let's go through this. We have idle detection. So if there are instances that somebody forgot about, we have a pretty aggressive criteria for idle to make sure that we know that these database instances really are not doing anything. We have instance right-sizing, which I think you're all aware of from our EC2 right-sizing capability. We're looking at all the different instance sizes out there to pick from, and then finding which ones have the highest performance at the lowest possible cost. We have instance upgrades to get you on the latest generations that are faster and also potentially cheaper because they need less cores to run your workload, as well as Graviton migration. And I really like the Graviton migration option here because there's really not a lot of analysis or effort needed to move your RDS resources to Graviton for a pretty nice performance improvement and cost savings. And then on the storage side, we have your standard GP2 to GP3 recommendations. We will recommend different IOPS amounts on your storage to help save money and make sure your IOPS is highly performant for your database, as well as throughput right-sizing. So let's take a look at it. You'll notice in this screenshot, we have two different products. We have our cost optimization hub, and we also have the recommendations in Compute Optimizer. So today, we're not just launching RDS right-sizing and idle recommendations in Compute Optimizer, we're launching it in Hub at the same time. So it's intention that anytime we're launching a recommendation, we're gonna put it out there in Hub so you can see it across all of your accounts, all of your organizations. You don't have to look at them one account at a time. And then you can sum up the savings of doing something like database optimization across your entire portfolio in one view. So you'll see in Hub a couple of new pieces of data in the savings donut. You'll see RDS DB instance savings. You'll see RDS storage savings. You'll see idle savings that goes to RDS databases. So this is all proportioned out. So if you want to look at idle, for example, you can go to Hub and filter on recommendation type as idle. If you're in a place where maybe right-sizing isn't the right time for your organization, right, it allows you to kind of filter and sort based on what recommendations your organization's ready to tackle. You can also take a look at, on the right side of the screen, the savings opportunities where you can look at, for idle, it'll total up the savings. For migration, it'll total up the savings. And so you can kind of look by use case. So inside Compute Optimizer, when you click on an RDS recommendation, it's going to show you all of the performance counters you need to validate that the recommendation is safe and accurate. And it's also going to show you the projected utilization if you take the recommendation. Now that's really important because we all know that it can be difficult to get engineers to trust recommendations and take actions, right? And so having all of this utilization data at your fingertips can help really help engineers think about, hey, how can we size, how can we be more elastic? And here's all the data we need to prove that these are safe, accurate, trustworthy recommendations. There's also a note here that if you enable RDS performance insights, you will get additional you'll get additional information on the database, such as DB load and swap and some other really cool metrics to help you increase the trust in the recommendations and buy-in from your engineering counterparts. Okay, so I want to switch gears again. We're going to talk about Hub a little bit more. Again, we launched Hub at reInvent. We've had a lot of success with Hub. Customers have told us that they love having a central place to look at all savings across their entire environment in one screen. This consolidation looks at savings plans recommendations, RI recommendations. It does a really cool thing where it deduplicates the savings you get, so it doesn't double count. How many of you have seen like savings charts that show more savings than your spend? Like I've heard, yeah. So I've heard that. So we wanted to solve that problem by removing the duplication of recommendations, so you're only looking at savings that totals up together. And what I mean by that is, if you see a recommendation to delete some idle resources, we're not going to tell you you can also reserve them and save that money too. So we actually reduce the amount of savings amount from the most highest savings recommendation. So if there's like a idle delete recommendation, we're not going to count the savings from right-sizing it or buying a savings plan for it. So all of the cost optimization hub savings numbers are deduplicated, so that number is much more achievable. So if you want to put a KPI on savings potential, or you want to take a look at, hey, what's a realistic target for us to hit this quarter or this year in savings, these numbers in the hub are much easier to set as a target, or potentially if you wanted to do like a percentage of the potential savings in hub, that's another option too. Another, almost like an Easter egg, but at the bottom of the hub, there's like a sentence. It's a little bit small on the screen, but it says your estimated monthly savings is X, which is X% of your spend for the last 30 days. And it's a pretty cool KPI because it'll tell you this savings number is a % of your total bill. And so if you want to do like a KPI, for example, on what percentage of my spend is potentially an option to save, this is cool. You can track this over time. Like you can go back to Hub and visit it, and you can kind of watch over time how your organization is doing on taking optimization recommendations or running a cleaner environment. So Hub has been a pretty popular product for us. We've had a lot of adoption, and a lot of customers have told us they really like it. But we also hear from customers that you want to build your own dashboards on top of Hub. So we're happy to announce today that you can now export the cost optimization Hub data sets. Thank you. Okay, so we have this really cool data exports thing we've been working on. We have Focus 1.0, we have the Cur 2.0, and now we have Hub. And Hub exports allow you to do all of the same things in the console. And what's really cool about this is that the export will always match the console. Waiting for, yeah, thank you. This is important to us, right? We hear this feedback. Like, we want to make sure, like, if I call the API and I look at the UI, do they match? Yes, they match. The exports match the console. This is, so we hear this. We essentially are taking the same idea of deduplication of the savings, and we're putting it in the export, but we're giving you the option to turn it on or off in the export. So this is really helpful because if you want to see the actual raw savings of every single recommendation by itself, you can turn off the deduplication capability in the hub when you export the data. So if you want to see the total savings of just savings plans recommendations, and you're not worried about idle for now or something like that, you can just unduplicate all of it, and then it'll show you the raw savings of each individual recommendation. So you can turn this on or off in your exports, and then if you want to build your own dashboard, if you want to export this data and then maybe bake it into your own optimization dashboard, that's now all available to you. Let's talk a little bit more about what's in the export. So we have 25 columns, 15 different kinds of recommendations are in the hub. You can look at every one of them in granular detail in the exports. Each one of them includes implementation details, savings opportunity, and complexity, like how hard is this to execute. Something like a GP2 to GP3 is easy because there's no downtime and it's easy to roll back that change versus something more complex like a right size, which takes downtime. So here's some of the columns. And again, it's kind of the same process as Focus 1.0. You can go to the data exports UI in the billing and cost management console. You can create a new export. You can select cost optimization hub, select your S3 location, and voila, you have a data export. You can also do this via SDK, CLI, and API. We also have, once you do these exports, whether you're going to bake them into your already existing like FinOps dashboards or reports, or whether you're going to use something like the cost intelligence dashboards, right? it'll have that same pipeline and daily refresh rate that you experience with Cur 2.0 and Focus 1.0 exports. Cool. Okay, so when we were doing the RDS engineering work, we went through a process to test this with quite a few customers, and to test the accuracy of the recommendations, the safety of them, the performance that we received from these recommendations, and of course, the business value. And as part of that, we had Here Technologies join us as part of the RDS beta, and they went through the beta experience and used a bunch of these recommendations and looked at how to deploy this across their environment. So I want to welcome Dave Van Hoven on stage to talk about his experience using the RDS beta.
Thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Rick. We really value the partnership that we have with Rick and his team over at AWS. So my name is Dave Van Hoven. I'm a Senior DevOps Manager at Here Technologies. If you haven't heard of us, Here Technologies is the world's leading location data and technology platform. Here's been a pioneer in mapping and location technology for almost 40 years. And today, Here's location platform is recognized as the most complete in the industry. We're powering location-based products, services, and custom maps for organizations and enterprises across the globe. From autonomous driving and seamless logistics to new mobility experiences, Here allows its partners and customers to innovate while maintaining control over their data and safeguarding privacy. So with all the activity that you can see on the slide over here, comes a lot of cloud usage and the need for us to optimize wherever we can. And over the last 12 years, that's included a very strong FinOps focus for us. So simply put, at Here, optimization is a key initiative. We're always seeking out ways to ensure that we get value for our cloud. And we spent a lot of time and effort improving optimization and utilization of compute and storage. And we wanted to continue this journey into another large spend item for us in a relational database. And we learned that the compute optimizer team was including the analysis of RDS. We jumped at the chance to participate because we were already very familiar and comfortable with the recommendations for EC2. And what we love about this offering is it lets us see the utilization metrics that we care about along with provision capacity. And that makes optimizing easier for us. A pro tip, I know Rick mentioned it previously, but really enable those performance insights. That's going to show the best recommendation results. So the power for this solution for us is that this evaluation gives us a vetted assessment about our RDS, and it helps to categorize instances in 3 different areas. So first, it lets us know if the resource is in an optimized state. This is where we want to be. This is where we want everyone to be. And what we can do from here is just continue with our periodic checks. Secondly, it identifies those over-provisioned resources. And for our more senior teams and the more kind of seasoned folks out there, they can just ingest those recommendations directly and implement. But for the teams that need a little bit more assistance, we have them run through what we call our right fit review. So this dives into a check of size and instance families and kind of helps them guide through that architecture conversation. Either way, though, at this point, it's a matter of reviewing those options, testing, and applying those changes. And the third one, finally, my favorite one, is we get a validation from a lot of different metrics that identifies those truly idle instances. And the information that we've got there, that helps with the conversations with engineers because they can see a wide range of data in black and white. And at that point, really the conversation comes down to, does it make sense for us to do a snapshot of the database and terminate the instance? I mean, you can't get cheaper than gone, right? So we also like the opportunity to review the usage patterns and see if we have a good candidate for things like serverless. So where do we go from here? Our FinOps efforts span the maturity scale and ideally sometimes beyond. We've reviewed the RDS recommendations of this tool, and we really feel that they're well-reasoned and safe options. And that gives us confidence to use it to explore more mature alternatives. So next up for us is to add RDS to what we call our optimization scorecard. And so we assess the recommendations and the instance utilization from the tool, and from there we apply a tag-based score on a range from 1 to 5, and so 5 is our target. This abstraction layer that we created makes it easier for folks across the org to really understand utilization. And ultimately, nobody wants to have a bunch of ones next to their name on the scorecard when the senior management is doing the reviews, right? So we found that it's really effective at addressing those quick wins, but it also keeps teams focused on improving optimization throughout the journey. We really love this approach, and we can't wait to extend it to other services beyond compute, and so we're excited about databases, and we're looking for more. But after that, we really want to start pushing the tools recommendations right into modifications of the lower environments. So we recently went through a Graviton migration as part of our sustainability efforts. And similarly, we'd like to see the right sizing of resources applied during the planned maintenance windows, and that'll allow us to do those changes with no unplanned downtime. And then again, my favorite, we're looking at expanding the automated actions of removing idle instances from all of our non-critical environments. We run this right now on a limited scale, but the deep assessment of the instances that are provided by the tool that AWS has provided allows us to have those easier conversations across all business units. And then we can get that really super critical buy-in to take those actions further. And lastly, we want to have the reviews of those usage patterns. Are we seeing data that shows spiky behavior or really predictable activity? Is the database engine the right fit for serverless? Can we automate and tag opportunities for a review? We're taking a look at those different paths right now. So the FinOps team that I run is always looking for different solutions that we cook up in our lab, and we're considering how we might be able to incorporate things like some form of hibernation, scheduled up and downtime, anything that will really help our teams. But we know the data from Computer Optimizer is really going to be key into making any of that work. So please keep an eye out for the team. Santha and Ranadeep sitting here in the front, myself. We love talking about FinOps at here. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks.
So we really appreciate all of you coming and joining us and talking about the latest features for AWS Cloud Financial Management. We do have a survey, so if you can take out your phones and grab this QR code, we're trying to find as many ways as possible to capture more customer feedback, right? So whether you visit us in the booth or you catch any of the PMs here at the conference this week, or if you fill out the survey, we love that feedback. We thrive on that feedback. It informs and changes our roadmap on a regular basis. So this is yet one more mechanism that we have to capture that feedback and really consolidate it so we can use it in our planning processes. And it's been a pleasure to be here. I know this is the first year that we're here officially in a product capacity, and we're really looking forward to continuing to serve the FinOps community, be part of this journey with you, and continue to create capabilities so we can all together mature in how we manage and understand our costs. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X 2024 content on our YouTube channel on the 2024 playlist. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, and by leaving comments and questions for our speakers. We appreciate your support.